Have you ever wondered what it truly means to rule the known world? Not just a city, a nation, or a kingdom, but a vast empire that stretched across deserts, rivers, and mountains. From the edge of the Aegean Sea to the distant sands of India, picture this: a lone rider galloping across the royal road. The hooves of his horse beat against the earth. As he carries the seal of the King of Kings, every fortress he passes, every village he sees, bows to the same authority. An empire so vast, so meticulously organized, and so deeply embedded in history that its echoes still reach us today. This is the story of the Persian Empire of glory, built by visionaries, of conquest shaped by genius and courage, and of a civilization that offered the ancient world something more than just the edge of a sword. Long before the world heard of Rome or even Athens as a beacon of power, there was a boy from a small tribe called the Persians. His name was Cyrus, not a king yet, not a conqueror, just a son born into a legacy of mountain people, fierce and proud, under the shadow of the Median Empire. But Cyrus was not meant to live in the shadows. He was destined to become something far greater, the architect of the first true empire the world had ever seen. Cyrus the Great wasn't like the other warlords of his time. His campaigns weren't just about destruction, they were calculated, strategic, and often deeply humane. When he rose up against his Median overlords around 550 BCE, he didn't just fight. He inspired. The Medes were powerful, but Cyrus had something stronger: loyalty from his people, and a dream that stretched beyond tribal lines. He defeated Astyages, the Median king, and in doing so, he united two powerful peoples into one foundation stone of an empire. His next move was bold, almost unthinkable. He turned his gaze westward to Lydia, to the fabulously wealthy King Croesus. Now, Croesus had once laughed at Cyrus of Persia. Just a minor kingdom, he thought. But that laughter faded when Cyrus's disciplined army defeated Lydia's forces in battle. Sardis fell, and with it, a treasure trove of unimaginable riches. But Cyrus didn't just plunder, he governed. He respected local customs, preserved temples, and offered a new form of rule, one where people could keep their gods, their languages, their dignity. Then came Babylon. Glorious, ancient Babylon, the jewel of Mesopotamia. For centuries it had stood unconquered, its walls massive, its people proud. But in 539 BCE, Cyrus marched in, not with bloodshed, but with careful planning. The Euphrates was diverted. The army entered under the city's walls, and when the people awoke to find their city taken, there was no pillaging, no flames, just order. Cyrus was proclaimed not as a destroyer, but as a liberator. This was unheard of. A conqueror who respected the conquered, who issued the now famous Cyrus Cylinder, declaring the rights of the people, the freedom of religion, and the rebuilding of temples. A clay declaration of human dignity, perhaps the world's first charter of human rights. And then he died, not in his palace, not with luxury around him, but in battle, far in the east, facing fierce nomadic tribes. Even in death, Cyrus was a soldier. His tomb in Pasargadae still stands, simple and solemn, a tribute to a king who never forgot he was a man. But the Persian Empire did not end with Cyrus. His son, Cambyses II, inherited the throne, and with it, the ambition to go farther. He set his sights on Egypt, the land of the Nile, the pyramids, and Pharaoh's no easy conquest. The Egyptians were no strangers to war, but Cambyses was relentless. In 525 BCE, he defeated Pharaoh Psamtik III at the Battle of Pelusium, and Egypt fell into Persian hands. And yet, while Cambyses expanded the empire, his rule grew darker. Some sources say madness crept into his mind. He desecrated sacred temples, executed rivals, and ruled with suspicion. His death, whether by accident or conspiracy, left a power vacuum. From that chaos rose one of history's greatest administrators, Darius I, not a direct heir, but a distant cousin. Yet he took hold of the empire with steel and strategy. Rebellions flared across the provinces, but Darius crushed them, one by one, and re-established control with unyielding precision. Darius wasn't just a warrior, he was a visionary. Under his leadership, the empire reached its zenith. He reorganized it into satrapies provinces, each governed by a loyal official but watched closely by royal inspectors, the so-called eyes and ears of the king. The royal road stretched over 1,500 miles, enabling messages to travel across the empire in mere days. Trade flourished. Coinage was standardized. The language of administration, Aramaic, allowed scribes from Egypt to India to communicate in harmony. But Darius, like those before him, also hungered for more. He looked toward the Greek city-states, small and fractured, yet fiercely independent. In 490 BCE, he launched an invasion that ended in the legendary Battle of Marathon. Ashoka's vast army, defeated by the outnumbered Athenians. It wasn't the end. His son, Xerxes I, took up the mantle. With a force said to number in the hundreds of thousands, he crossed the Hellespont and marched into Greece. At Thermopylae, a small band of Spartans held the pass, buying time for their fellow Greeks. At Salamis, the Persian navy was trapped and shattered. The tide turned. The Greeks had proven that even the most powerful empire could be challenged, but Persia remained a titan. Even after the failure in Greece, the empire held firm for more than a century. Its culture, its laws, its infrastructure became a blueprint for later empires. Art, architecture, and philosophy flew. The great palaces at Persepolis, massive columns, intricate reliefs, and sweeping staircases stood as testaments to a civilization of order, splendor, and immense human effort. Persia was not merely an empire of the sword. It was a crucible of ideas. Zoroastrianism, with its focus on light and darkness, on moral choice and divine justice, shaped religious thinking for millennia. Tolerance, innovation, and statecraft made Persia not just a power but a legacy. And yet, as always, time marched on. The empire began to fracture. Internal rivalries, ambitious satraps, and external pressures chipped away at its core. In 334 BCE, a young Macedonian king named Alexander crossed into Asia Minor. With fire in his eyes and legends in his mind, he began a campaign that would ultimately bring Persia to its knees. At Gaugamela, in 331 BCE, the Persian army outnumbered the Greeks, but tactics, momentum, and fate favored Alexander. The battle was a rout. Cyrus fled, only to be betrayed and killed by his own men. Alexander entered Persepolis, the heart of Persia. He admired it, respected it, and yet, in a drunken night of vengeance, he allowed it to burn. Flames consumed the palaces. The symbols of Persian glory turned to ash. But Persia was never truly destroyed. It lived on in language, in law, in the hearts of those who remembered what it meant to be part of something greater than themselves. Even Alexander, who conquered the empire, chose to wear Persian robes, adopt Persian customs, and marry a Persian noblewoman. Conquest, it seemed, had turned into admiration. And so, what do we make of the Persian Empire today? It was not perfect. No empire is. There were rebellions, cruelty, and ambitions that led to unnecessary wars. But within its borders, for centuries, millions of people of different races, religions, and languages lived together in relative harmony. There was justice, there was law, there was civilization. The story of Persia is not simply one of battles and kings. It is a story of vision of people who believed that the world could be united not just by force, but by respect, order, and shared humanity. If history teaches us anything, it's that empires rise and fall. But some leave footprints so deep, their shape still guides our steps. The Persian Empire was one of them. If this story moved you, if you learned something new today or felt a deeper connection to the past, then leave a comment below. What part of the Persian legacy do you find most powerful? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell so you never miss a tale from the pages of time. Until next time, remember, history is not just about dates and battles. It's about people. It's about us.